Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving deep today into the world of fencing.
Yeah, sounds good.
We'll be looking at some recent news from USA Fencing, and it's kind of an interesting mix
Yeah.
of exciting stuff and also some sad news, unfortunately. So we're going to kind of touch on all of that today.
Yeah, a little bittersweet, I guess you could say.
Exactly. So we've got this press release from USA Fencing, um, and we're going to go through some of the highlights.
All right, let's get into it.
Yeah. So let's start with the good news first, I guess.
Right.
The 2025 USA Fencing Hall of Fame and awards dinner. So this is coming up. It's going to be at the Summer Nationals in Milwaukee.
Which is a pretty big deal in the fencing community. Summer Nationals is like the biggest event of the year. So it's a great stage for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Recognizing all those who made a big contribution to the sport.
Right. And I was curious. I mean, for somebody who's never been to this event, what can we expect? What makes it so special?
Well, it's really a chance for the entire fencing community to come together from all the different levels of the sport. So you've got Olympic fencers, you've got young fencers just starting out, you've got coaches, referees, everyone's there. And it's a really celebratory atmosphere, but it's also very prestigious. It's an honor to be there and witness the inductions.
Yeah, the press release actually uses the word dazzle to describe.
Right. Yeah, they like to make it a little flashy.
What are some of the things that they do to make it so dazzling?
Well, the induction speeches are always really great, hearing from the inductees and their stories about their journeys in fencing. Sometimes it's a little bit of fencing history that gets shared. And then, of course, you have the mingling afterwards, which is always fun because you never know who you're going to bump into. You might end up chatting with a former world champion or getting advice from a famous coach.
That's really cool. It sounds like a really special event. So definitely something to look forward to. But, as we're celebrating these achievements, we also have to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of a real legend in the sport, Peter Westbrook, who died recently at the age of 72. He was, of course, an Olympic medalist himself, but his legacy goes so far beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter Westbrook's impact on fencing is really immeasurable. I mean,
Yeah.
beyond his own accomplishments on the strip, he founded the Peter Westbrook Foundation, which has been empowering inner city youth through fencing for decades.
And I've heard so much about the foundation's work. Can you give us a specific example of how it's transformed a young person's life?
Oh, there are so many stories. It's hard to pick just one. But, one that comes to mind is Ibtihaj Muhammad, who came up through the foundation, became a world champion, and then competed in the Olympics wearing a hijab, which was an incredibly powerful moment for representation in sports. And the foundation really provided her with not just fencing skills, but also, the support and guidance she needed to navigate a really challenging path to success.
It's really inspiring to see how sport can be such a vehicle for positive change. And speaking of positive change, moving on from this reflection, there's some more news from USA Fencing, including a new sportswear partnership with Macron.
Yeah.
For those of us who aren't familiar with the brand, what sets them apart in the world of athletic apparel?
So Macron is a big player in Europe, especially in soccer. But they're making a big push into the U.S. market now. And they're bringing a lot of experience and expertise, in terms of designing athletic apparel.
Okay.
And what's interesting for fencing is that they really understand the needs of fencers. They focus on lightweight materials that allow freedom of movement, but they also pay attention to style. They want fencers to look good while they're competing.
So it sounds like a great fit.
Yeah, I think so.
And speaking of excellence in the sport, congratulations are in order for the U.S. women's foil team, who recently won gold at the Veteran World Championships.
Wow.
That's amazing. It really speaks volumes about the dedication and longevity of fencers to be competing at that level, as veterans. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And it makes you think about Peter Westbrook and the foundation and how, he faced a lot of challenges trying to establish the foundation, securing funding, overcoming skepticism. But his passion and his belief in the power of sport really helped him overcome those obstacles.
Yeah, it's really amazing what he's able to accomplish.
Yeah.
So we saw also some news about the upcoming Veteran World Championships. Are there any specific storylines or fencers to watch out for?
Oh, always. I mean, the veteran circuit is so interesting because you have all these athletes with such fascinating stories and backgrounds. Keep an eye on the epi categories. There are some former Olympians who are still competing. And then in the saber, There's this up-and-coming Italian fencer
Hmm.
who's been dominating the circuit.
Okay, well, that's exciting. Well, to keep an eye out for that. And then lastly, we saw a brief mention of a sensing becoming the official shoe of USA fencing.
Right.
Why is specialized footwear so crucial in this sport?
You know, people might not realize how important the right shoes are for fencing, but it really makes a huge difference. It's all about grip and support. Fencing movements are very quick and explosive. You're lunging, attacking, retreating. And you need shoes that can handle those changes in direction without you slipping. And Asa, they're known for their lightweight but also supportive designs, which really enhance a fencer's agility and responsiveness.
Well, that makes sense. So we've covered a lot today. The excitement of the upcoming Hall of Fame, the inspiring legacy of Peter Westbrook, and the continued success of U.S. fencers, the importance of specialized gear like we talked about with Macron and Azaz. It's really, it gives you a good overview of everything that's going on in the fencing world right now.
Yeah, it's a really dynamic sport,
Yeah.
and it's great to see it thriving.
Yeah, and it makes you think about the unique qualities of fencing that foster such a positive environment. What other sports offer those kinds of opportunities for personal development, social impact? That's something for our listeners to ponder as we wrap up today's deep dive.
That's a great question.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.